Hello, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be giving you 7 thrifting tips that will make you a pro. Now, I often say that I am a professional thrifter. I've been doing it for so many years, literally since childhood. I'd love to do a video at some point showing you some of the most interesting things I've found thrifting. And over the years, I've had so many people ask me, how do you find such good stuff at the thrift store? I feel like I never get anything good. So I'm going to give you some of my best tips. Now, what you consider to be something good at the thrift store will vary from person to person, so I've tried my best to make these tips as universal as possible. So let's just get right into the list. Let me know if any of these help you find something awesome at the thrift store. Tip number 1, know where to go. Now, let it be known that not all thrift stores are made equal. Some are better for finding different categories of things. If your thrift store is extremely giant, you're much more likely to be able to find something good from a lot of different categories. But if your thrift store is smaller, there's a really good chance that it's geared more particularly towards a certain category like clothing, or dishes, or books. So unfortunately, depending on the thrift stores at your disposal, there are certain things that you just might not have as much luck finding. I'm extremely fortunate to have multiple thrift stores within walking distance of my house, so I have all kinds of different options available to me. But I do always keep in mind, depending on what sort of thing I'm looking for, which thrift store I ought to go to. If I'm specifically on the hunt for books, for example, there are 1 or 2 thrift stores which I might just not gravitate towards. Now let's say that your thrifting mission at the moment is to find a really nice dress. Knowing where to go is going to mean not going to the thrift store that has like no clothing at all. So pay attention to your thrift stores and how they differ so that you know which ones to go to for particular things. However, this leads me into rule number 2. Don't be too specific. Many thrift store lovers have fallen into this hole of looking for something extremely specific and then being disappointed when you can't find it. Of course, you can have some specifications, like I'm looking for sweaters today. However, if you're being so specific that you're like, I'm looking for a light blue short sleeve button-up sweater in my size, you are almost definitely going to be disappointed, unfortunately. So you really want to go to the thrift store with a pretty open mind, look for broader categories, and then just see what's available. Now, there is a way that you can find things that are really specific, but the question is, how fast do you want to find this thing? If you have a deadline and you're like, I have this wedding to go to next week and I need this really specific garment, I would not put your faith in the thrift store entirely. But if you're okay with it taking a really long time, for example, I've been looking for a particular sort of light pink cardigan for a really long time, but I don't really need it right this moment, so I scan the thrift stores for it when I go. If I don't find something that I really like, then maybe I'll find it next time. But if you're looking for something really specific and you want it right this minute, the thrift store might not always be the best way to get it. This brings me into tip number 3. Don't compromise. If you've done a significant amount of thrifting, you very likely had the experience where you're looking for something and you find something that's pretty close. It's not exactly what you want, but you're like, well, it's like $5, that's pretty cheap, so I'm just gonna get it. And then it just sits on a shelf, or it sits in your closet, you never use it, you never wear it. We've all been there. And I totally get the feeling of being like, I put so much effort into trying to find this thing is close enough and I might not find something as close for a while, so I'm just gonna get it. But you don't want to be disappointed and have wasted your money on something that you're not going to use. Thrifting isn't always instant satisfaction. There is a lot of patience involved, unfortunately. How much you're willing to compromise can vary from person to person and depending on what you're looking for. But I find that one of the most common places this applies is to clothing, so let me give you an example like jeans. So you've found a pair of jeans, they're the exact style you're looking for and the wash that you're looking for, they just don't quite fit you right. They're really close, but you can still put them on, right? Maybe there's just something slightly off, there's a little gap somewhere, they're a little bit uncomfortable in some sort of way. I would recommend not getting them, unless there's something realistic that you're able to do about the problem. Let's take the jeans example again. You've found a pair that actually fits you really well, and they're in the exact style that you want. However, the wash is too dark for your liking. Depending on how much effort you want to put in, you could maybe bleach them. Then maybe you'd have the exact pair of jeans that you're looking for, but you do need to keep in mind, are you willing to put in this amount of effort to make this thing exactly the way you want it? Because I've also been in that situation where I'm like, this dress is really great, I really like the style, it just doesn't quite fit me right, oh, but I can alter it and so it'll be fine. But then I bring it home, and it sits in my closet because I didn't really want to do the alteration, I didn't quite care enough, and so I've just wasted my money, and now it's sitting there, and I never end up altering it. So it's situations like that where I maybe just shouldn't have compromised, it didn't fit me, I wasn't willing to put in the effort to make it fit me, so I just shouldn't have bought it in the first place. Of course, if you're a creative person and you like problem solving, maybe you like sewing, it's really easy to still end up doing these things. I've still done it, it still happens to me where I get something, I'm like, I can change it, and then I just don't. But if something is not just what you're looking for, then remember there are always more thrifting days to come. Tip number 4. Do I like it or is it just cheap? There may be times that you find something at the thrift store and you're like, wow, this is such an incredible deal. This thing I know out in the wild is extremely expensive. Here it's so cheap. I'm gonna buy it. But you do need to ask yourself, do I actually like this thing? Do I actually want it? Or is it just a good deal? Because that will again lead you into the pickle of buying something that you don't really want and you waste your money and it just sits at home doing nothing. A great trick is to look at the thing that you found, maybe it's a teapot, and ask yourself, if this was closer to its original price, would I still want it? Now, of course, part of the reason you go to the thrift store is because it is more affordable there most of the time. So that doesn't necessarily mean if this was its original price, would I still buy it? Because you're allowed to still have a budget and all that. Maybe you wouldn't have bought it in its original price because you couldn't afford it. But if this thing was its original price, would you still wish that you could buy it? Now, I love teacups. I open every one of my YouTube videos taking a sip out of one of my many teacups. And there are many of them where if I saw it in an antique store and it was like $30, I still would have wanted it. Even though I wouldn't have bought it for $30 because that's out of my budget, but I still would have wished that I could. That's how I know that I really liked it and it was worth buying. Tip number 5, look in unexpected places. The most effective way to go thrifting is to really dig, and what I mean by that is if there's a large swath of things, don't just sort of scan them with your eyeballs and be like, man, no, nothing caught my eye, let's move along. If you want to find the hidden gems, you gotta actually go in there, move things around, and get a really good look. For example, records. I collect vintage records, and there have been times where I have just, one by one, gone through a absolutely massive stack of records, and that's how I found some of the coolest things. And I have been guilty of walking past a clothing rack and just been like, no colors or fabrics spoke to me, I'm just gonna move along. But if you actually flip through things, there are some things that you can't see from the side. You gotta actually look through things thoroughly, and that is how you'll find the best stuff. Now, something else that often happens at thrift stores is somebody will pick something up, carry it around for a while, decide that they don't want it after all, and then put it down somewhere extremely weird. Sometimes employees also just quickly put something in the wrong place accidentally, and that is how I found things like a skirt hanging out in the pants section. If I knew I was looking for a skirt and I only looked in the skirt section, I might have missed something. So if you have the time, I do highly recommend looking through categories that you're not necessarily looking for. I find that this happens most often in the clothing category, but it can happen in other categories as well. Thrifting tip number 6, don't be afraid to leave with nothing. Now, I understand that this can be extremely frustrating. I've seen a lot of people spend a lot of time in a thrift store and then feel bad to not buy something, so they buy something cheap that they don't really want, and then they never use it. So they've wasted a bit of their money and now they have this random trinket hanging around their house that they don't want. So over the years, I've gotten really comfortable with just being okay with leaving with nothing. It can feel a little bit discouraging sometimes if you've maybe just spent an hour or two going to multiple different thrift stores and you just can't find anything, but I swear to you, it will save you money and it will also save you space in your house for not having bought things that you don't need. So I hear from a lot of people, I've been to the thrift store, I just never find anything good, so I don't bother to go. I also hear people saying like, oh, your thrift stores are so fantastic, mine never have anything good. And while sometimes there is some truth to that depending on where you live, I have found nothing so many times. So it's not necessarily because your thrift store sucks, though that can be the case. Most of the time I notice people will go to the thrift store, maybe a couple times, not find anything, and then just give up. So you need to be okay with leaving with nothing, because one day you're gonna go and find something spectacular. And that leads me to what I would call the most important tip. Tip number 7, thrift frequently. Now, I understand this is not feasible for everybody, but if you want to get the best out of your thrift stores, it is the best way to do it. Now, I'm extremely blessed to have a lot of thrift stores very close to me, so I can even just go to the thrift store on my way home from work, meaning I can go basically every day that they're open if I want to. Now, of course, some people will live in places where there aren't thrift stores for miles, and so you simply can't go very often. I totally get that. There's so many people for whom it's just not possible to go to the thrift store multiple times a week. However, if you do have a thrift store near you at your disposal, I highly recommend going as frequently as possible. There have been plenty of times where the best things that I found at the thrift store, the cashier will tell me, oh yeah, we literally just put that out today. or I put that out actually 10 minutes ago. Sometimes you find the best stuff on the racks that the employees are still in the process of unloading onto the shelves. The sooner you see stuff, the better your chances are, because the good stuff will be snapped up by the regulars. Another bonus to going thrifting frequently is if you can form sort of a relationship with your thrift store employees and stuff like that, you can get really good deals, and sometimes they'll even set stuff aside for you. I've formed great relationships with a lot of the thrift store employees in my town over the years, and so it hasn't been uncommon for a certain employee to find something before it even goes on the floor and be like, I'm gonna save this because I think Miranda would like it. I'll show it to her when she comes in. I absolutely love when stuff like that happens. It's so extremely sweet. I've even gotten discounts just because the employees liked me. So that's probably one of the best tips I can give you, is if you're able to, go to the thrift store really frequently, because that's how you'll find the best stuff. So those are my 7 best thrifting tips if you want to find the good stuff. I really hope that this can help some of you. Please do let me know in the comments or DM me on Instagram if you find something super awesome at the thrift store. And that would be it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please comment, rate, subscribe, and all that jazz, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye! The mailman is here. For people who do have thrift stores at their disposal, no, that's not how that phrase goes.